Hello, this is Dr. Schmidt of Dr. Schmidt's Alien Universe. Back in the 1980s, mid-1980s, I was up at Palomar Mountain Observatory visiting the telescope in the small museum, and they had a gift shop. And I was walking up the hill, and what I thought were tourists said hi to me. It was Eugene Shoemaker, who's a PhD from Caltech in geology, his wife, who's another PhD astronomer, and Levy, who's a PhD astronomer. Anyway, so apparently they were coming down on a lunch break. They said hi to me. I didn't know who they were. I thought they were tourists. So I went up to the museum, and I went in to visit and look around, and then I left. But later on I realized that that was Shoemaker Levy of SL9 fame, where they had the comet asteroid fragments that smashed into Jupiter. And that was, I think, 1994. So I didn't know who they were, um, but I followed some of the work of some of their work. Um, I was studying the comet asteroid crashes through other channels, through other, through tapes and books and things like that. And one of the things is the danger that would be caused to the entire planet if you have a comet asteroid crash that hits the Earth. It all depends on how big the rock is. If the rock is a half mile or larger, it could be a global catastrophe where the entire Earth could be uh, vulnerable. You could wipe out all the life on the entire planet, and the atmosphere would actually burn up. There would be a fire cloud that would cover the entire surface of the Earth, no matter where it hits. If it hits in the ocean, when the rock hits the bottom of the ocean, it's rock hitting rock, and you get 100% disintegration of mass into energy. So right after the tidal waves happen all around the world, then you'd have a fire cloud that comes in right after that. The fire cloud would basically spread around the entire world if it's a big enough rock, and it would burn up everything. And so basically you would probably lose 99% of the world's population. Now, if it's a smaller rock, let's say it's not a half mile is like 2,500 feet. So, in other words, a rock of 2,500 feet wide, 2,500 feet long, and 2,500 feet deep. If you get a rock that big or bigger, it's a global killer. But if you get a smaller rock, it may only cause regional damage. Let's say you get a rock that's 500 feet long and 500 feet wide, 500 feet deep. Well, then you would have a regional problem where if it hits in the ocean, you would have uh, in that area that's close to the impact point, you would have tidal waves, and then you would have a fire cloud. So it'd still cause damage, but it wouldn't be a global killer. So it all depends how big. So the question you have to ask, how big is the rock? If it's a big rock and it hits the Earth, we're in trouble. It doesn't matter if it hits in the ocean or if it hits on land. Eventually, even in the ocean, when it hits the bottom of the ocean, it's rock hitting rock, and you have 100% disintegration of, and the energy released would be unbelievable. It'd be a cataclysm. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that because I met Shoemaker Levy by accident at Palomar. I thought they were tourists. I didn't. Later on, I realized uh, that that this is that these people are famous scientists. I didn't know who they were at the time. And in fact, a lot of my experiences are like that, where I didn't even know who I was talking to. I used to talk to one of the students at UC Berkeley who later on won the Nobel Prize in Medicine. And I used to talk to them because they were in an advanced second year calculus class that I wasn't enrolled in the class, I was auditing. They were giving a test, and he came up to talk to me. He won the Nobel Prize, and he was a student. He was a math student at Berkeley. He later got a PhD at MIT in biology. He was a molecular biologist. But at the time, I didn't even know who he was. Later on, I realized he was a Nobel Prize winner in medicine, and uh, and I believe I influenced him because he was on an engineering, mathematics, computer science track, and I told him about a molecular biology class I was taking, and he switched his major to molecular biology. Now that could have been just a odd coincidence, but I did talk to him briefly, and then later on I realized he was a world famous Nobel Prize winner in medicine. But I didn't know at the time. I thought he was just another student like I was. Uh, anyway, that's my story. Thank you very much.